Hey guys, this is Jeff Stanek with Figured Out Baseball. Got a great Figured Out Baseball podcast today in the series that we call the Real Dirt podcasts, where we get our hands dirty with one particular topic. Like we try to go as in-depth and deep in that one topic as we can and try to cover it, in as much detail as anyone who's interested in that topic would want. That way we help you to understand it, help you to get more knowledge of the subject. Today we're being joined by PJ McIntee. He's the assistant coach and hitting coach at Minnesota State Mankato, one of the best Division II schools in the country, obviously in Minnesota. He's someone that I've known for a long time. And we've worked at a couple of the same places, but never worked together. So I have known PJ, and he's been a friend. But he's someone that I really believe buys into and sort of embodies what we're talking about today. Our topic today in this podcast is situational hitting, where we're just going to talk about being good at more things than just swinging as hard as you can and hitting the ball as hard as you can, and why that's important, and what you work on to get good at these things. And hopefully Coach McIntee can fill us in on a lot of this stuff. If you haven't seen PJ's videos, you can check them out on the website. He's got some videos in the free portion of the Figured Out Baseball website, where we have more than 500 free videos and podcasts on the website overall. And PJ's got some hitting videos there that I recommend you check out. He's got some great drills on there, and hopefully that's not the last we've seen of PJ on the website. But PJ, I appreciate you being here on the podcast, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So, situational hitting. I'm curious, and the first question I'm going to ask you is just to kind of describe or define situational hitting, if you can, for people that aren't really familiar with it. Just let's say we've got high school coaches or high school players listening to this who are kind of like, they don't really, it's not something they work on, so they're not 100% familiar with it, maybe don't even know exactly what the topic is or exactly what situational hitting refers to. So how would you define situational hitting to someone who is not familiar with it?
Well, that's a good question. It's kind of tough to define in specifics. I think for us, one of the things that we talk about with situational hitting is, trying to generate offense with more than just hits. So, there's certain things, like runner on second, nobody out, moving that guy to third, because then now they're running on third with less than 2 outs. You don't necessarily have to get a base hit to score them. So for us, situational hitting, I guess if I was to define it, would just be generating offense with more than just getting base hits. Obviously, you have to get base hits. You want to get base hits. But there's things within inside the game offensively that you can do to help you score as many runs as possible.
That's a great definition, and it's something I think is really important. And this is what I really want to talk to you about. And in my opinion, as a coach, it was always really important to be good at situational hitting, because there were just going to be days when you just weren't going to get that many hits, whether you were hitting balls at people or whether you ran into a good arm or whatever. And to me, a good offense was always able to, still generate runs, get runs on the board, and have a chance to win, even if you really didn't have that good of a day as far as squaring balls up and getting base hits goes. What are some instances, or what are some types? Let me ask you that. What are some types of situational hitting? Like, give some specific examples of what that means, or maybe things that you guys work on at practice that would be considered a quote unquote a situational hitting opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. That's I guess kind of defining situational hitting. One of the things for us that I'm a huge believer in is team offense, right? And a lot of people have talked about this, at some of the conventions and stuff, and how can you score runs. And even though there are moments in the game of baseball where it is individual, right? It's just you in the box versus the pitcher. So there is some individual, parts to baseball, but how can you get guys to buy into, it's 9 hitters in a lineup trying to score runs? It's never just one guy. I mean, everybody's got that stud free hitter, but it's not just him that's going to score runs. And so for us, some of the big ones, I think the ones that we talk about the most, and I'm not reinventing the wheel, but like runner on second base, nobody out. We talk a lot about that one. Runner on third with less than 2 outs, infield back, infield in. even and this might not maybe fit your definition of situational hitting, but we talk about ahead in the count swings, like 3-1 counts, and then even two strike hitting for me is situational hitting, putting balls in play. Our program still puts a premium on putting balls in play and making the defense work. And I know that's, I guess some people think that a strikeout's just another out. We don't necessarily feel that way. And I know, that's a hot topic in baseball. But the big ones, for us, we run on second base with nobody out, getting that guy to third, and then that runner on third, getting that guy in. So,
PJ, why are these things important? Because, for people that, you and I, we talked before we started recording, and you said that you prefer watching college baseball games over, Major League Baseball games. I'm guessing that the majority of our audience is the opposite. They just watch Major League Baseball games, partly just because that's kind of just, you know more, and it's easier to follow those teams, like unless there's a local team you like. I'm guessing most people follow Major League Baseball more. And situational hitting, it's not something that you see happen very often. Why do you think that's something that's still important for you guys at the college level and a really, really good level of Division II, and you guys produce a really high-level offense every year at Minnesota State Mankato? Why is situational hitting important? Like, why not just try to bang doubles and homers? Like, why do you think this stuff is important to focus on and to work on?
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, you're trying to win ball games, and doing whatever you can to score as many runs as possible. Our season, unlike the Major League season, Major League Baseball is 162 games. Like this year for us, it's our regular season was 40 games, but typically it's a 50-game season. I guess sometimes you get 10, 12 losses, and you're thinking, okay, I got to win a conference tournament to make a regional. So for me, every game's important. We're trying to win every single game. So it's always in our program, we're built on pitching and defense. Don't get me wrong. I still want to score 10 runs a game, even though our strength of our team is probably our pitching staff and our defense. It's for us, offensively, we always talk about trying to add that run, get that run over. And you play teams in a 3-game series. Typically in college, the deeper you get into the bullpen, the less velocity. Maybe the guy doesn't have the same velocity the starter does, or the breaking pitch isn't as sharp. And you get into that third game of the series, and now you're 9 guys deep into their bullpen. Whatever it may be, that's a guy that you can really bang around the ballpark a little bit. So for us, that's one of the things that we really talk about is trying to grind out at bats and get 9 guys to buy into being a tough out. Because then that benefits us. Maybe you're the leadoff guy, you have a really good at bat, but you get out. Now that guy doesn't have that same velocity in the 5th, 6th inning that he did in the first. Or maybe we get deeper in the bullpen sooner, and then we can really break it open. So for us, it's important. And I think in the college game, it's fun to see because I think that stuff still matters. And it's fun to see guys buy into something that's bigger than just themselves, right? It's not just about me, it's about the team, it's about winning. I think the college game still has that, and it's fun to see guys that have passion and play for a team and play for a program and are trying to win ball games. Not that they're not doing it at that major league level. I think it's maybe just a little bit more prevalent in the college game.
Do you think that situational hitting is also something that should be focused on in high school? Like, do you like to recruit hitters that are already have a feel and already pretty good at this stuff, or is that something you feel like, not a big deal, we can definitely teach them? Like, if there's a high school coach listening to this, do you think he should work on situational hitting, A, to win games, but also B, to help his players to be ready to play and contribute at the college level? Like, is that something they're going to be asked to do? So a good high school coach should already be doing that stuff in high school.
Yeah, I think we obviously feel like we can teach that stuff, but it makes it easier if a kid has a good understanding already. And I think it's important. It's super important at the high school level because you can take a guy that's maybe not a great hitter and make him another link in the chain. What I mean by that is a guy that can keep the line moving, can have a good at-bat, can move a runner, he can lay a bunt down. He might not be your star that's going to necessarily get the hit every time, but he can still, if he has an idea of situations in the game where, okay, I don't have to get a hit, I can hit a ground ball to second and get this guy to third, or the middle's back and I know a hit obviously scores this guy, but if I hit a ball to the shortstop, 10 hopper, that run's still going to score. And so I think it is important because it makes guys well-rounded. And I tell our guys at the start of the year, we want to be line drive hitters with power who have the ability to control our barrel, and if we need to move a guy, we can. Are there times where we say, hey, you got the green light, like let it rip? Absolutely, right? And I want all our guys to have double-digit home runs and all that stuff. And I'm not saying that we don't want to do that too, but I think in order to win against the Friday night guy or the top guys in our conference, you have to be able to lay a bunt down, get a guy over. Like one of our better guys in our conference that we were playing against, we won 2-1. It was a safety squeeze. We scored. We just laid a safety squeeze down, sack bunt, basically is all it is, what we teach, and run scored. The guy in the mound was really good, and we only had 4 or 5 hits. 2 of them didn't leave the infield, but those are the most important ones, and we scored 2 runs, and that was enough to win the game.
People that are opposed to situational hitting, I think, look at it a lot of times like we're giving an out away. And a lot of people believe this, and I'm assuming you do too, but just, outs are precious on offense. You don't want to give them away necessarily. You're not trying to necessarily sacrifice yourself in a lot of situations other than like a sack bunt. So I think a lot of people that oppose it think you're taking yourself out of a potential big inning, or like, this guy, you're taking the hitter's chance away, or you're taking the bat out of his hands in a sense, like you're not giving him a chance to hit a double or whatever. That's what I think people that are opposed to it think. And I don't know if that person is listening to this podcast or maybe just passed it up because of the topic in general. But someone that doesn't love situational hitting, can you just kind of talk about just as an overall offense, like how often are we doing it? Like if you get a guy, just say you have a leadoff double to like lead off the game, are you situationally hitting right there and moving him over, or is that something you're going to do late in the game when that run, like one run, is super important? Or like you get a guy on third base with less than 2 outs and the infield's back. Is it an automatic for your players? They're going to try to hit a ground ball in the middle, or is that like situation specific, like in the first couple innings of the game, or maybe like if you're down 2 runs late and you have a guy on third, are you not trying to situationally hit there because you need to score 2 runs? I just kind of want to talk about this a little more specifically. And again, people that maybe are opposed to it, try to give them more specific examples of like when this is actually going to take place in a game for you. Is it all the time? Is it situationally specific? Is it like, only late in the game, only when you're winning and need to tack on, or like trying to tie the game? Just kind of wondering how you guys talk about it as an offense, as a team, when you discuss situational hitting with the players.
Yeah, and it's, I think for me, the guy that thinks like, hey, situational hitting, outs are precious, I get that, absolutely. And I think it's a philosophy thing, and if that's the philosophy that you believe in and want to stay true to, like, I respect that. I have no problem with that. I see that. I can see how that wins, and if your personnel, if your team fits that mold, like, go for it. So I get that, and I wouldn't disagree with someone. I think, it's like anything, guys, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, right? There's no doubt about it. And for us, situational hitting, I think it's always, like, our guys are always aware of it. If you hit a leadoff double, I don't want my 2-hitter just to hit a weak ground ball to second, in the first inning. And what I mean by that is our guy knows he wants to stay in the middle of the field and hit something hard, right? So he's looking for something to drive. He's a little more fine. What I mean by that is he's looking for a pitch to drive up the middle the other way. It's something that, as the count gets, either if he gets to 1 strike or 2 strikes, then he knows, okay, I need to move this baseball. And what I mean by move it is, hit a ground ball to second base or first base, or get this guy up 90 feet. So it's something that I think for our guys are always aware of it. We never want to just give away outs either. I think we talk about, no strikes, 1 strike, 2 strikes, how that dictates, what we're trying to do offensively, whether it's move a run or get a guy in. We do, when we get a guy to third, with less than 2 outs, I call it competitive contact. Like, we want to go to competitive contact mode right away. If the infield's back, meaning we're going to simplify, we want to put this ball in play early. We want to, something low and hard, because that does the job 100% of the time. And a lot of times, if a guy focuses on being short and crisp and trying to hit a ground ball necessarily, or a line drive through the infield, a lot of times it keeps them short and they end up hitting a rocket, in the gap. So I think just that focus of, hey, I'm trying to not do too much as a hitter. I want to stay inside the baseball. I want to be crisp. That helps keep guys short, and a lot of times it does the job. And I'll run out there, listen to us, infield's in. And I used to be like, hey, we want to hit a fly ball to the outfield. And I've changed my thought process a little bit on what I want to teach to our guys, because I felt like guys would get long and hit that majestic F4 right on the infield, and that doesn't do the job. So I talk to guys more about, we just want to hit it hard. We hit it hard somewhere, it's going to find a hole, it's going to go to the outfield, we want to stand our leg, we want to drive this baseball hard. I've talked a little bit more about that than necessarily trying to hit a fly ball. Obviously that's the goal, right? We want to make the outfielders go backwards, and that's what I talk about. We want the ball to go forward, not necessarily up, just because I don't want guys to get really big and uphill and hit that F6. That won't do the job. We want the outfielder to have to go backwards to drive that run in. So our guys are always aware of it. The scoreboard dictates, maybe a little bit of what we're doing, where we're at in the ball game. Obviously late in the game, we're really, we're always trying to tack on, and if we're down a bunch, maybe we don't want to give away an out. We want to try and play for a bigger inning. So I understand. I see everybody's point of view, and I respect it. And I know a lot of different hitting coaches have different ideas. This is what's worked for us. And one of the reasons we've been really successful, and we've hit over 300 as a team ever since I've been here, and long before I got here. That kind of was instilled in the program. So for me, one of the things is just continuing that tradition, and kind of where I've been, the different places. That's what the coaches have done and instilled, and I've seen it be really successful for a long time. So,
do you guys sack bunt, PJ? Is that part of situational hitting for you? Or are you not a team that believes in sack bunting?
Yeah, we sack bunt, absolutely. And it's funny because we want every guy to be able to do it. Now, are we going to sack bunt with our 3-hitter? Not all the time. There's times where we don't. Like if you're on second base and we got nobody out, and our best 2 or 3 RBI guys are up, we say, hey, we got 3 chances here to drive this guy in. Let's let it rip. So I guess it's sometimes it's just kind of that old fashioned gut feeling. Like, well, how's the game going? What's this guy in the mound? There's no by the book answer. Do we sack bunt? Absolutely. And I think if you look, I think we lead our conference in sack bunts. We're probably up there in the country. In sack bunts, and that's just a philosophy thing that we've done that's had a lot of success, and we believe in, and every guy in our program knows that. And we'll bunt every day. I like the base hit bunt. We'll have a lot of times we'll have our guy with a runner on second, nobody out. We'll drop a base hit bunt down, so we're not just giving up an out. But if they do get us out, we've moved that runner up. We've put pressure on them. Actually, we just finished our first round of our playoffs. We had 2 situations: runner on second base. We were sack bunting our guy, and with nobody out, no strikes. I'll say, hey, be fine here a little bit, which means like, hey, try and put it down, in the right spot. And our guy was really good with it. Put a nice bunt down, end up beating out for a hit. So now we got first and third, nobody out. Now we got a chance for a big inning. So yeah, we definitely do, and I know that's maybe. Not everybody believes in it. It's gotten less and less, I think, as if you look the way the baseball's going a little bit. But for us, it still matters. I think, and I don't want to sound like I see everybody's philosophy, but for us, it just matters because it's helped us win, and we've won a lot of games because of it. So,
and I think that part of situational hitting going away is that teams honestly care less about winning, and they care more about, developing the individual, which is still really important. But I think if you're not focused on winning, you're really not focused on the right thing about just what baseball is supposed to be at its core. Now, you mentioned a couple of times there, PJ, that just about actual situations that have happened where you bunted guys from second to third. I'm just curious, maybe you have a short answer for this so we don't take up too much time on it, but do you also bunt guys from first to second, or really only from second to third?
No, we bunt guys from first to second. And, I would say a lot of times the scoreboard dictates that where we're at in the ball game. If it's late in the game, and I think about too. We think about is who are we bunting to? Like, okay, so if the 9-guy, if the eight hole hitter gets on and the 9-guy sack bunts him over, now we got 1, 2, 3 with a runner on second with one out. I like our chances to score on this one. I think that's where knowing your team, knowing your hitter strengths and their weaknesses. But yeah, we've sacked a bunch of guys from first to second. And there's times too, and I think we're very much, and I don't want to say old school, but kind of like the old school mentality of we believe in the sack bunt, we believe in playing small ball, but also, there's times where we haven't done it, we just steal that base. And so I see that too. I think base running is part of situational hitting. If you can be really good at base running and dirt ball reads and those things and getting guys to the next base, you're looking for opportunities to take another base. It just generates offense. And if I could boil down like our offensive philosophy to one thing, it's just score as many runs as possible. So I think offensively, obviously, you can't base run and bunch your way into being a good hitting team. It can help. You got to have good hitters, and as a high school coach, I know you can't recruit, but you want guys that can hit. It makes it easier. But another way to just continuing to put pressure on teams would be base running, bunting, situational hitting. Our goal is to put pressure on every single inning, and have a chance to score runs every inning, and so that stuff is important, in my opinion.
How do you make this stuff important for your players? Like, what do you do? What do you talk about so that the players actually, they buy into this, they get good at it, they understand how important this stuff is to win? And I'm asking this question, PJ, like if there's a coach that's listening to this that wants to be a better situational hitting team, what can he do either in practice or in conversations with the team or whatever to help his team to get on the same page where like they're going to start to buy in and see how important this stuff really is? So like, how do you make this important for your players?
That's a good question. I think the most important thing is emphasize it, make it important, so it's a daily thing. I think that's the most important thing is that you can't just talk about situational hitting and then never do it in practice. Or, hey, bunting's going to be important and we never practice it. Or base running, like if I always look at like if you play catch every day, if we take BP every day, the things that matter to us, need to be in that daily portion of our practice. So we try and base run every day. We try and, in our BP incorporate, whether it's one round, maybe it's just one round that day, or maybe it's the whole time or whatever. I think emphasizing it, continuing to do it, not just forget about it, talk about it once and then think, okay, we're going to be good at it. It's something that I just think needs to be that daily vitamin that you take if you want to be good at it. And I always say you emphasize it and it's important to you. You emphasize in practice, make it important in practice. So we talk about it daily, and then we try to execute it daily. Some days it's, like I said, maybe it's just one round. Some days when we enter squad scrimmage, we'll put guys in situations. We just try and make it really important and something that we do on a daily basis, just like playing catch, stretching. There's days where we'll have 5 rounds of BP. 4 of them are going to be gap to gap, let it rip, and then that one round is, hey, we're going to run on third, less than 2 outs, infield in or infield back or whatever it is. So
that was my next question. Just how do you practice this stuff? So do you create situations in batting practice, or do you have like live type stuff where maybe it's like coach pitch, live scrimmage type things where you have guys in certain positions and your hitters are practicing doing this stuff, or is it just in like their rounds of BP, whether you're in a cage or whether you're actually on a field and like you're seeing players at different bases? Like, how do you actually implement this stuff in your practice, PJ, so that your players have a chance to execute?
Yeah, and I think this is the most important thing is doing it. Like the more you do things, the better you get at them. So for us, we try and incorporate it in our batting practice. We try and do it, in scrimmages. I would say the best thing that we've done, that I've done, I just kind of started doing it the last 2 years, is what I call execution rounds. And you can pick any situation that, sometimes it's, hey, this situation came up a lot in this series last weekend and we weren't very good at it, so let's do it this week in practice or whatever. So if you are taking batting practice, if you're a high school coach or a college coach, typically, you got 4 or 5 guys in a group, and every hitter, and I play and I hit, and I want to, have those nice, easy BP and free and easy swings, and I'm letting it rip, and every hitter wants that. So what I've done is execution rounds, and like let's say you and I are in a group, and you're the first guy hitting that group, so I'll give you a situation. Let's say it's runner on third, middle's back. So you get 5 swings to execute runner on third, middle back. And so you get 3 out of 5 where you hit 3 hard ground balls or 3 base hits up the middle. And the other 2, you hit a weak pop-up. So 3 out of 5. So then the rest of the hitters in that group, their next round, they get 3 gap swings. So, and everyone wants, I want my 5 gap swings. I want to let it rip. I want nice and easy. So to put a little more emphasis on focus, competitiveness, there's something on the line, there's a payout. I don't want to let you down, so I want to get this run in, and I want to get 5, hard. I call them hogs. We call them hogs, or hard on the ground. We want to get hard on the ground. We want to get that run in 5 times, because if you don't, in my opinion, if you don't put something on the line, and then it's just like 5 swings. Like if you don't get that run in BP and there's nothing to it, then you don't really. It's like, okay, no big deal. But it is a big deal because it matters in a game. We want that run in a game. So how do you create that same environment in practice? So we'll do 4 guys in a group. The first guy, you executed 3 times correctly, then I get 3 gap swings. So does Joe Blow and Johnny, and then when we come back around, then it's my turn. So I go up there and I want to get 5, execute 5 middle back. So you get your 5 gap swings. So we started doing that, not this year, but the year before. And at first, there's some uncomfortable moments where you're up there and you only let the guy in 1 time, so I get 1 gap swing. So, there's some uncomfortable moments in that group. We're sitting there looking at each other, and I'm like, hey, what the heck? I only got 5 swings today because, Jeff didn't get the job done. And I wanted those uncomfortable moments because that's what it's like in a game. You feel that same type of, I want to do this to score this run. So creating that environment in practice, to me, is really important if you want to be good at it. So we do that quite a bit, and I'll pick out, like I said, you can do any situation. Runner on second base, let's move this guy. Runner on third, infield in, let's hit some fly ball, let's score this run. You can even do sack bunting, right? 5 sack bunts. If I get 5 sack bunts down, you're going to get 5 gap swings. And so guys still get their gap swings. They're still getting BP, but you're also emphasizing and putting some competitiveness on those other swings. And I think for me, it just increases the focus. And it also gets you to root for me and me to root for you. But, all right, Jeff, let's get this guy over 5 times. And you can do it. I'm a little more in tune to what you're doing in batting practice versus just kind of, taking my 5 swings and mind my own business. All of a sudden, I care about what you're doing because it affects me, just like it does in a game. So creating that environment was really important to us. And then when we inter-squad, and we today, like we just inter-squadded today, we had, we're 40 games into our season. We had 7 pitchers throwing in each. And we still, even after, a guy has 32 quick outs, and all of a sudden, as coaches, we'll kind of control the scrimmage, and we'll put a runner on third, infield in, and here you go. 1 out, here we go. So, creating those environments in practice to me is really important because you're going to fail and you're going to have success. And then, the more times you do it, the more comfortable you get at it. And I think if you only situational hit in a game, it's hard to have that comforting, feeling like, all right, I've been here before. I can do this. I know what's expected. I know, and I always tell guys, like, if, we do some scrimmaging, we'll say, hey, the away team's down 3 or up 3, and we'll put a runner on second every inning, and it's fun to kind of let them see how they manage the game a little bit, and then they can fall back on those situations when they're in the game, like, hey, we've been here before, we've been down 3 with 3 innings to go, and so I think creating those environments in practice, are super important if you want to have success in a game. Does that mean, we're perfect every time and we execute at 100%? No, but I think our guys know the importance of it. When they get in those situations, I'm not trying to coach them in a game. I'm letting them, hey, like, here we go. do your job. We've already covered in practice. We've done it, a bunch of times. Our guys know what's expected. They know what they're trying to do, and they can be a little bit more clear in their mind versus me telling them in the game, hey, do this, do that, do that. I want our guys to just go play and compete. And if it's good enough, it's good enough. If it's not, it's not. So I think, practice is the most important thing. That's what we do. So we're doing it in DP. We're doing it in scrimmaging. And then we're talking about it, just continually talking about it and getting guys to understand, what they're trying to do. And I don't want to sound like it's got this huge, awesome formula. The biggest thing is we want to keep it simple. It all starts with getting a good pitch to hit. And so I think that's the biggest thing. But I think doing the stuff in practice is really important if you want to be good at it.
This is really top-notch stuff. This is PJ McIntee, everybody. He's the hitting coach at Minnesota State Mankato, one of the best teams and one of the best offenses you'll find in Division II baseball anywhere in the country. And this is stuff that I think can really elevate a program from being, an average program to an above-average program, or taking a team that is pretty good and giving you a chance, if you're a high school team, to really compete for a state championship if you just get good at these things. If you have good individuals, just like PJ said at the beginning, you can have a bunch of good individual hitters, but if you don't have a good team offense, if you lack the situational hitting type stuff, there's going to be days when you're going to be let down because you're not going to get that big hit, whereas maybe you could have done something situationally to create a run here or there that could have made a difference in a game. But PJ, this has been great stuff, man. Is there anything that you think that we did not touch on that you want to make sure we touch on before we end this podcast?
Not that I can think of. I think it's I would say that, you can't, and I've already said this before, you can't just be good at situational hitting and not have guys get hits. I mean, you might win a game or two because you were really good with situational hitting, but at the end of the day, you still, we're hitting over 300 as a team because we have good hitters. There are times where we extend the lead, and I talk a lot about hey, we want to start fast, we want to score runs, and a lot of times we do a good job and we score a few runs early on in the game, and then it's a matter of we want to separate. And what I mean by separate is let's add a run here, let's add a run there, because we're playing 9-inning games. All of a sudden when you get to the end of the game, and instead of 6-4, it's 8-4, 9-4. That's a little bit different feeling at the end of the game. Maybe you use a different arm, or when your closer comes in, he can really attack hitters because you tacked on that run. And so I think we still want to get hits, right? We still want to hit and drive the baseball, and we got guys with double-digit home runs and doubles, and I think that's important. We talk a lot about wanting to have all the tools in our toolbox, and so when we need to call upon that tool, we can use it, and in that situation, it's going to come up big for us. And so I think that's something that's important. No doubt we want to hit, we want to be good hitters. Also, we want to have the tools where if it is, maybe the wind's blowing in, it's freezing cold, and hits are going to be hard to come by. Can we find a way to win this game? Maybe that day it's the short game, or getting that guy over, or whatever it is. So
this is great stuff, man. If you want to find out how to be a good coach and how to have a top-notch offense, a top-notch pitching staff, there's no better place to do it, especially for the price that you can find at figuredoutbaseball.com. More than 500 free videos and podcasts. We're up to a couple hundred now, videos and podcasts in the paid portion of the website. We're adding videos every week to the paid portion of the website. So if you're a coach who enjoyed this podcast and you want to continue to learn and get better, I hope you check out the other resources that exist on Figured Out Baseball, particularly Coach McIntee's videos that he's got on the site. But PJ, thanks so much, man, for joining us on this podcast. It was really great talking about situational hitting with you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be a part of Figured Out Baseball, and I didn't learn this, I didn't come up with this on my own. I learned it from other people, and whether it's listening to a podcast or watching a presentation or talking to another coach, continuing to learn, and I'm always trying to do that. So I think giving back to the game that I feel like has given me so much. So awesome to be a part of it. Thanks for having me.